Well, good evening and welcome to PJNET Television, our Second Amendment hashtag rally. And we are fortunate to have many patriots here gathered in our chat room who are ardent supporters of the Second Amendment as citizens, but we are also honored to have on the phone with us Steve Toth. Now, Steve Toth formerly has been a representative in the House in the state of Texas. But he is now running for US Congress in Texas, District 8. The incumbent there is Congressman Kevin Brady, who you have heard on this show as well. And Steve, it's really great to have you call in. I have taken a quick look at your website, and you've probably got, 10 or 12 videos, but I think 4 of them have to do with the Second Amendment. So clearly the Second Amendment is important to you. Why the big deal?
Because it is, Mark, first off, thanks for having me on. The Second Amendment is the canary in the mine shaft. And you look at every free people that has ever lost their liberty, it starts with the Second Amendment. It starts with guns. And we get, as Second Amendment advocates, that you and I understand this, that it's not about hunting and fishing. That's not why we have guns. It's not why the founders gave them to us. And it wasn't just to protect our family. It was so that government would live in fear of we the people, so that they'd never take our liberty away.
You know, one of the most profound historical facts that I have found goes back to World War II when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. The victory was so overwhelming. The military was thinking, well, let's go ahead and invade the United States. Well, Admiral Yamamoto, who was the architect of the Pearl Harbor invasion, was actually schooled in the United States at Harvard. And he said, if we do that, you will find a gun behind every blade of grass. The largest standing militia on this planet is the citizens of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, the opening of deer season in the United States, it's the largest armed standing army in the world.
and pretty well trained, I would say.
I would say.
Many of the people I've met, I used to duck hunt. I was pretty good. Folks, if you haven't found out about Steve Toth, you want to go to Toth for Congress, and that's spelled TOTHFOR Congress.com. Steve, you've had a career in the House of Representatives in Texas. What made you make the decision to run for the U.S. House?
God closed the door when I ran for the Senate. And I didn't run for re-election in the House. I had a great voting record, and constituents were very much behind me in the House. But I made a lot of enemies with the lobby in the state of Texas, which Ted Cruz refers to them as the Washington cartel. We have the Austin cartel in Austin, Texas. Austin is the Texas economy is the 12th largest economy in the world, and it attracts a lot of bottom dwellers. And when you're running for an open seat, it's really the person that's going to win. It's really just whoever has the most money when it's an open seat. Mm-hmm. When it's an established seat, which is what I ran against when I won the House, we were outspent 10-1, and we just educated people about his record and how bad it was, and we won. And we're doing the same thing against Kevin Brady. This is a guy that was one of only 2 members of the Texas legislature that voted against concealed carry in 1993. He said no 15-hour course is going to be worth the paper it's printed on.
Well, I guess enough people disagreed.
Yeah, thankfully. Well, and you look at, and one of the other things that he was quoted as saying in the Houston Chronicle is that, people having guns, people get angry, people get emotional, and people are going to get shot. Well, that sounds just like a liberal. That sounds just like a Democrat. And sorry if there are any Second Amendment Democrats on the line here, but
people are getting shot.
That's the kind of rhetoric we expect out of liberals.
In a way, they're right. People are getting shot. Police officers are getting shot. They're being targeted. I think we need to return fire. Maybe they'd shoot less.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Steve, your career path before you got engaged in politics. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm a recovering Baptist pastor. So I still do marriage and family life counseling. I was on staff at Fellowship of the Woodlands. It's a Baptist church, and when I went off staff, I opened a business with my wife and became an elder at Woods Edge Community Church for about 12 years. And we do lay marriage counseling on the side now. I don't do it full time anymore since we have a business. But we have 12 employees. We're in the construction and service business.
Well, you've that's a pretty deep and wide foundation. At what point did politics come into the picture for you as a U.S. House representative in Texas? Not a U.S. House, a representative in the House of Texas.
In 2011, at a Saturday morning leadership meeting for our Tea Party, I was asked to consider running for the Texas legislature. And I said, man, I can't do that. And I came home, and my wife said to me, how was the meeting? And I said, it was okay, but Pat and Julie asked me to consider running for the Texas legislature, and she said, you can't do that. And I said, I know, it's crazy. And it was 8 days later, we're driving home from church, and coming up Kirkendall, taking a left on Alden Bridge, and she said, if we reorganize the business, it takes some things off your plate, and you could run. And she's here in the kitchen with me right now. And I remember it like it was yesterday, and I was quiet, and I said to the Lord, I can't believe you changed my wife's heart. What's going on here? And, lo and behold, May 29th of 2012, we were outspent 10-1, and we won. We won by 14 points. And we just won with a very simple message about less government, more freedom, and educating the people of House District 15 about what our opponent's record was. And we're doing the same thing against Congressman Brady. Only this time we've been gifted with many more terrible votes that we get to educate the people of Texas about. Cromnibus, which is a 2-year spending bill, which basically gave the President of the United States a blank check. Omnibus, which was from December, which gave our kids $750 billion of additional debt. Funded 172,000 Syrian refugees to come here. Not just come here, it embeds them in the entitlement system, which they'll never leave. Meanwhile, we've got 30-some-odd-thousand veterans that are going to go to sleep homeless tonight. But we are going to give Syrian refugees a place to sleep and food and drink and everything else. Warm bed.
Steve, I'm grateful that we've had the opportunity to have you call in. You know what? There's a lot more I'd like to talk about, but in closing, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. I have been told in my activities, and almost everybody here, I call them T-evangelical, the basically evangelical right. But I have been told and rebuked even by people in circles that are close to me that kind of get that frown in their face and say, politics and religion don't mix. What would be your answer to that?
That is something that we have been bullied into believing by the left, when the reality is that what lit the flame of freedom in the United States during the Revolution was the Black Robe Regiment. It was the pastors that took off their black robes and went out and fought. And when the English came into town, they didn't look for people with guns. They looked for the pastors to hang and shoot. And we're not supposed to roll over and play dead. We're supposed to stand up and fight for what's right.
Well, and I keep reminding in some conversations I had earlier this week, on the birthday of Martin Luther King, I reflect on how he took his movement, very much a grassroots movement, but he used, churches and organizations, and he used biblical principles to coalesce a powerful organization that was really made up of, when you take a look at the 30,000-foot view, a bunch of ragtag citizens. And I think that, we're in a similar situation. We're counting on a Washington cartel to handle things for us, and we've trusted them. And I think they have betrayed our trust, or they've taken our trust for granted at the very least. And I think it's time for people of conscience, of faith, of of religion, to stand up and fulfill a role that I think we have a responsibility and as part of our discipleship. It's not something, oh yeah, well, I need to vote. It's actually, I don't see any contradiction in faith and freedom and the.
This is Romans 13, right?
13:1.
This is the governance that God has set up here, and this is rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar, as Jesus put it in the Gospels. It is your responsibility before the Lord as a free people. It's for freedom that Christ set us free to live as free men and women. Voting, especially in the primary, is your responsibility.
I have another theory. I actually do not believe that the problems that we face as a country are political. I don't believe they're financial. I don't believe they're judicial or social or educational. I believe the problem is spiritual. What would you say?
Absolutely. Oh, I can't agree with you enough. We will always get the government that we spiritually deserve.
Mm-hmm.
If we're spiritually bankrupt,
mm-hmm.
and if the church is not doing what the church is called to do and be about, then this is what we'll get.
Steve, this has been very interesting. I hope we get another chance to talk. There's so much
that
we do, and thank you so much for taking some time to share with us tonight. We hope you'll hang out with us, and because we'll be going all night, and I hope you'll become a part of the fixture of the PJNET landscape. Thank you so much for sharing.
Love to. God bless you.